coolest fact about your journey, you did PhD in 1 year. How can that happen?
I was the first person to apply AI in the field of astrophysics and gravitational wave astrophysics. So that ended up being a big hit. My team won the Nobel Prize.
After working at Google and JP Morgan, you turned 27. And then you became financially free, you became a millionaire at 27 and finally financially independent, achieved FIRE by 29. Hello everyone, today I am in the house of Daniel George, co-founder and CEO of a $60 million company, TwinMind. TwinMind is an application I use every single day because it's the world's best speech to text application. You give speech in any language, Chinese, Hindi, English even, Punjabi, it transcribes and you can chat with it. So hi Daniel, can you please introduce yourself and more about the house?
So hi Harnoor, I'm Daniel, I'm a co-founder and CEO of TwinMind. And I was just like you, an international student who came here in 2015 to do his master's. And I was studying astrophysics and somehow I ended up working in AI. And I can talk more about it in detail later, but welcome to our house. This is where half the team lives in and everybody commutes to work here every day.
Oh wow, let's go.
This is our TwinMind pirate house.
So you went to IIT Bombay for physics.
Yeah.
And then physics to AI. What an incredible switch. Why and how?
So as a kid, I was obsessed with physics and that's all I wanted to do. But when I got into IIT Bombay, studied engineering physics and I got into grad school in University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign to do computational astrophysics. But then in my first week here, I was somehow convinced that AI is just going to change the world. And I saw this talk by Ray Kurzweil. It was very convincing. By 2029, AI was going to be better than any scientist out there. Wow. So I told this to my advisors and I said why do physics now when I should be doing AI and then getting AI to do the physics for you? And my advisors were fine, let's try applying AI in physics. So I ended up doing that and then we can talk more about it, but it ended up being a huge hit and we detected black holes using AI.
And that's how you got recognized by everyone. That's one of the biggest discovery you led. That's one of the discovery you led. No one had discovered that in black holes, right?
So no one had applied AI in gravitational astrophysics before. So I was the first person to do it. And black holes, these signals that Einstein predicted, 100 years ago, when black holes collide, we will be hearing gravitational waves billions of years away. And the signal is so tiny that I was nobody had detected this before. And by applying AI to pick out these tiny signals hidden in all this noise, it worked incredibly well. And that's how I ended up getting a job at Google X and NVIDIA paid for the whole PhD. And I met Sergey Brin and Jensen Huang and Stephen Wolfram, they were super interested in my thesis and I got a present to each of them. And then I ended up getting a job at Google and that's how I went from physics to AI.
And now Stephen Wolfram, the founder of Informatica, when I was taking my math classes, people used to type math problems in English on Informatica.
Mathematica,
and then now there's ChatGPT, but that was such a big project and now he's invested in TwinMind. Stephen Wolfram.
He has never invested in a company in 30 years and we are the first startup he has ever invested.
That is so incredible.
Yeah.
Wow, awesome.
But welcome to our house. So here you can meet the other members of our team. So we have this is our marketing team. Here we have Jerome and Shraddha.
Hi everyone.
And let's keep going. So we have our design room here. We have all our designers.
Incredible. Hi.
And let's keep going. So this is this is the kitchen. This is our operations, head of operations, Manohar, who was classmates with me at IIT Bombay.
Oh wow!
And kitchen, I'm had to take care of all these, kitchen operations too. Some days. But we know all each other, from IIT Bombay.
And yes, Anantha Krishnan was my I guess he was in the room right next to me at IIT Bombay, same hostel.
Wow.
Yeah. I was in the next block.
Next block. So same hostel, all of us, and he was he's also from Kerala and he's worked with me at Google. So we've been friends since 2011? Yeah.
Incredible. Wow.
Yeah, it's a long history. So you can keep going.
Now let's meet the co-founders.
These are our co-founders. Mahi.
And hi Mahi.
Hi, I'm Mahi. I'm a co-founder here. I am helping out with the engineering and the science.
He's our chief scientist.
Hi, I'm Sunny. Yeah, I'm the CTO in TwinMind. Okay.
Awesome.
Sunny and I did our PhD together in astrophysics as well at University of Illinois. And that's when we met in 2016.
2016.
And then we've been working together ever since. We went to Google together, then we went to JP Morgan together. I was his manager for a couple of years at JP Morgan. And then we both quit together to start TwinMind like last year.
So how did you all three meet to co-found the company? So both of you met at JP Morgan.
No.
And
So Sunny and I met at University of Illinois in 2016. We both did our PhD together in astrophysics.
so you quit together from JP Morgan when you both were AI chief scientists at JP Morgan.
Yeah,
right?
so we were leading AI, applied AI at JP Morgan, and I was Sunny's manager. We were leading a team together, and that's how we work. We have actually been working together since 2016. So we did our hackathons together at University of Illinois. Then we went to Google X together for
That's
like
their moonshot project.
Yeah, their moonshot factory here in Mountain View, and that's where we work on like self-driving cars and like robotics and drones and like all these crazy sci-fi projects. So we worked there together, and that's where we met Mahi.
Mahi at Google as well.
Yeah, at Google
So
X.
you worked at the moonshot project as
Yes,
well.
we were working. I was working with his wife actually on the same project as his wife, and that's where I met all of them. We would eat together. I remember seeing him at the dining place once, and then I said, "Oh, let's eat together." And then he was friendly. He was telling me about his birthday, and that's how we connected. And then since then, we were playing
Foosball, chess.
Chess. I never beat him in chess. Fun fact: he is like a grandmaster at chess.
No, no.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's true. Like my wife, Sunny, Mahi, we all like became friends at Google X, and you can actually meet her later. She's actually working from the cottage in the back.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you all have experiences with not just AI, but physical AI as well. And what was biggest challenge in this space? Because like you're currently working on AI as LLMs and like RAG-based applications and like the software side, but you have worked and switched from physical AI. That's interesting, right?
I know when we first applied AI in 2015-16 in physics, nobody liked it. All these professors were like, "This is like black box. This is not real physics. You shouldn't be doing AI. It's like you're not like deriving these equations by hand. You don't understand these models, right?" This is what happened when you were doing AI as well.
And I was doing AI as well, yes. Yes. So it was fun. I mean, to actually put AI into like physics and like science, because like people don't trust it in the first place. So now you can see everybody's doing it. Yeah. So it's different too. Like LLM is more accessible, but in order to apply physics into AI into physics, like you require some bit more of thinking. Yeah. So it's a like different kind of thinking. Yeah. So it's actually a lot of fun to actually use like generalistic AI right now these days to do whatever we are doing right now. Yeah.
Incredible.
I remember when I first was convinced that AI is going to change the world in 2016, and I wanted to switch from physics to AI. And I went around telling all the grad students in the department to like, you guys should be using AI in your like projects, and nobody did it except Sunny. So he was like the first person that I was able to like convince to switch from physics to AI.
That is incredible.
Then quit his job and then start this. Daniel convinced him everything. And some people actually say like the best way to understand AI algorithms is to understand physics.
That's why Daniel taught us a popular quote from IIT Bombay that code touches the machines, physics and mathematics touches the universe, and storytelling touches people. Now you have had a journey from, working on code, working on physics to now storytelling as CEO.
That is true, actually. And that's the hardest thing to do.
Wow. Now let's go to the backyard. Just like social network, you guys have pool as well.
Yeah, like, let me show you around the house. So this is like the perfect house to like start a company.
And you said this is a very difficult house to get in the Bay Area.
Yeah, I know. So this is like the prime location. Like Sand Hill Road, where all these VCs are just 5 minutes from here. Stanford is 10 minutes from here. This is like Menlo Park. YouTube started just blocks from here. Just like a few blocks from here, like the first office at like Apple and Google, they're all within like 15-minute drive from here. So this was an insanely hard place to get. And when we came here, there was a 1-hour showing. And within that 1 hour, there were 20 people trying to get this place. And they're all fighting and talking. And then so we talked to the landlord and pitched them the idea about TwinMind, what we are building. So Sunny, my co-founder, and Mahi, we all came here and told this landlord, like, we are building this AI Jarvis that's going to like, beat ChatGPT and Google and everything. And he was so impressed, and he told me that he actually started a company here like 15, 20 years ago that became like $1 billion IPO. And now he owns like a bunch of houses and has castles in France. And he was like so inspired by our idea. He was like, you guys should have it. So he just gave it to us and sent the others away, like on the spot.
This is insane. So $1 billion founder thought that your mission is truly incredible, and he chose you over others.
Yeah,
He didn't
yeah.
choose the money or higher rent, but the vision of your team.
Yeah, definitely. We got a great deal here. There's like a huge place. We have like a cottage in the back where my wife and I live. And she actually works from here. She's not working at TwinMind. She's working at a different startup. But so
Wow.
she's like, we both moved here. We used to be traveling, for 3 years. And then I convinced her to like, she's very supportive. So she and my co-founders, we all moved here and started living together and working on the startup since early 2024.
Wow, I connect with your journey a lot. He has traveled to 27 countries in 3 years, 1 month in a country at a time, and 12 countries in a year. It's incredible. We'll talk about that as well.
Yeah.
Now, this is the pool, just like social network. Do you guys throw each other? Has anyone thrown you in the pool?
Yeah, I mean, we have all thrown each other, especially all the interns, they used to just jump in here, they code all day, they jump in here when it gets too hot. We have all these fancy statues imported from Europe.
Oh, wow,
The
yours
house
Europe?
came with everything. Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
That's incredible. It's beautiful. Wow.
We have all these cool trees, and like it feels like a really magical place to work from, We feel like inspired to be here.
This is really cool.
We can actually also like go look around the cottage.
Sure,
too.
sure, let's go.
Yeah, so let me show you like where I actually live. So my wife and I live here, and then the whole team, the rest of them work from here, and a couple of my co-founders live here as well. Take a look around. This is my wife, Nina.
Hi, Nina.
Both of us met at Google X along with Sunny and Mahi. We all were like friends and used to hang out all the time, and then that's how we started dating.
Oh, awesome. And yeah, you have incredible story of traveling as well.
Hi, I'm Nina. I'm Daniel's wife. This is our home. Yeah,
What do you
welcome.
work on?
I'm the director of AI at Bayesian Health.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
So we both like she also did a PhD in AI and neuroscience, and like
Wow.
we both started as interns at Google X together in 2018, and then like became friends with Sunny and Mahi, who all like joined, my co-founders who all like joined Google around that time, and that's how we started like playing a lot of foosball together, and then ended up dating, and we both work on AI. So we like talk about like she's actually an advisor to TwinMind as well.
Wow.
But now she's like director of AI at Bayesian Health. Previously she led Aura Ring. She was like leading AI at Aura Ring for 4 years.
That is incredible. So both of you were traveling and taking a break for 3 years just by traveling the world. What made you stop traveling and finally come back to build AI? Build in AI.
I mean, Nina didn't want to stop traveling. But I was like, after 3 years of just like, working at Google and JP Morgan and all these companies, I wanted to start my own company. I was like, always had this like passion to like start my own thing. And then I like ChatGPT had come out, and we were like, this is not the vision of AI that we had from watching like Iron Man or anything, Jarvis is supposed to be always on, always by your side, like telling you things before you ask. So I was like, both Sunny and Mahi and I were like so inspired by that idea. We were like, we should start this. So we started working on it, and while we were like, after work on the weekends, and then this actually ended up working out really well. We were like, this is the time we raise money and we quit. And then being in the Bay Area is like a cheat code, to start a company.
100%.
I mean, 100%. Naval Ravikant, who's like a famous, like an investor and founder, he actually said that just a few days ago.
Zip code matters a lot.
Yeah.
What you work on, the people you work with, and your zip code.
Being here, you're surrounded by like the smartest people in the world, like the highest density of talent, highest density of great investors who will support you, and like like the best, like there's all these events, and like like it's just inspiring to be. If you open your smartphone, like all the apps you see on it come like 90% come from here.
Not just that, like the money that investors have in Bay Area is 15 times whole investors in Canada.
Wow. I did not know that actually.
I mean, of course. And how about you? What made you stop traveling finally? How you got convinced by him?
TwinMind. Yeah. I mean, we moved out to California, both of us, in 2018. So California's our home. We love it here. And it's perfect place to start an AI company, of course.
So after 3 years of traveling, how did you like get convinced to move back here? How did I convince you?
The vision for the company, I think this is our best bet to really, we want to go all in on TwinMind, like either do it all the way or don't do it. So if we're going to do it, got to move out here and really go for it.
She's like the most supportive partner anyone could ever have,
Awesome. I'm so happy for you.
We wouldn't have been able to start TwinMind without her. Yeah, but like, actually my mom is a famous painter in India, so these are actually her paintings.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So beautiful. They are very beautiful paintings.
But yeah, so this is where we have all the investors come and you sit, like right there.
Oh, very
so
nice.
every time we have people, like we have the head of Sequoia, like all these like Streamline Ventures, all these people, they always come and like this is where we meet.
This is incredible. It's
Yeah.
a beautiful, beautiful place. I'm very happy for you. Once again, it's an honor to sit next to Daniel. I first want to go in depth of your PhD journey. A lot of enthusiasts in AI technology who are learning AI in today's world, they are also moving towards PhD. They want to get PhD as well when they see the competition. For example, China is producing almost 2 to 3 times PhD grads than the US. India is still creating less, but more people want to do PhD now thanks to the boom we have seen with AI, thanks to the highest packages given by Meta to PhD grads. And when I was investigating who are those people who are getting $1 billion offers with PhD, they're not like normal PhD grads. They are the ones with reasoning expertise. For example, making the model think, and then we can go back and see how the model was taking decisions. More transparency. That's why reasoning models were so important, and there was shortage of shortage of researchers with reasoning abilities, and that's how the demand skyrocketed of reasoning scientists. So can you talk about your PhD journey and what do you feel about these, skyrocketing packages of AI research grads?
Yeah, so definitely, like I always wanted to do a PhD since I was a kid because my dad, he was like the first person in his village to ever get a PhD.
Wow.
Yeah. So like his
Which
parents,
village in India?
This is like from in Kochi, near Kochi.
Oh.
Maybe like 30 miles from Kochi. He grew up there. So like in his entire village, nobody had even like graduated like 5th, 6th grade. His parents had like only gone to 4th grade. So he was the first person to get it in his whole family, extended family. And so I was always, since a kid, I wanted to do my PhD. So that's the main reason I wanted to do it. And I studied physics at IIT Bombay, and I wanted to do astrophysics in the US. So I actually didn't come to the US for computer science or AI. I came here to do PhD in astrophysics. And because my mom was a physics grad and my dad was a math professor, and together, like, I somehow ended up in computational astrophysics. And I came here because I was just like, I don't think you should just do a PhD for the money, to make money or to get a job, because it's a 6-year-long process. So you really have to be passionate about the subject, right? People are not even thinking about what job would they get in 6 years or 5 years when they graduate. They're thinking about like what is like the impact they can have in their field. You should only be doing a PhD if you're genuinely curious to enhance the sphere of knowledge that humanity has. So I don't think any of those people who are doing the PhD are like doing it for the job to get into Meta or DeepMind, but they're really passionate about knowledge, pure knowledge.
Especially in like, for example, reasoning and like going in depth over breadth.
Yeah, depth. So they want to go super in depth, and like, because breadth is like increasing with AI model like ChatGPT. They have a lot of breadth of information about everything, right? Like you can ask Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok about anything in the world. That's like general knowledge, breadth in topics, they have it. But the depth is what they're lacking. They're like, even the best AI models today are not as good as like Terence Tao at math, or like, like the best like researchers in computer science, physics, or so on. So like there is still that advantage you can have by having like a really in-depth knowledge in some one area, and then having breadth of knowledge in other areas.
100%.
Yeah.
So now I want to know the coolest fact about a journey. You did PhD in 1 year. How can that happen? Of course, you will give examples of Stephen Wolfram, who did it in like at the age of 19. I mean, of course, you always look above, not below, but still 1 year PhD and 2 years masters. So 3 years you were done with masters and PhD at UIUC.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
So I actually came to the UIC because like they had a combined program for masters.
UIC or UIUC?
UIUC, University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, because they had a combined program in masters and PhD together in astrophysics. And so I was able to take a lot of courses in my first 2 years. I took like even all the PhD courses, master's courses, everything I needed. And I was working in industry, and I was able to figure out this hack where I would get like all these like research credits and internship credits and all like packed into my first 2 years. And I was the first person to apply AI in the field of astrophysics and gravitational wave astrophysics. So that ended up being a big hit. My team won the Nobel Prize. It was a big team that detected gravitational waves for the first time from black holes colliding. And I was the person who led the application of AI in that field. So my first other papers ended up getting thousands of citations in like a really short span. because combining AI, which was the hottest field at the time, with gravitational waves and black holes, which also was the hottest field in physics at the time because of the Nobel Prize, I was able to get a lot of impact and citations and win 5 different awards, fellowships, and get thousands of citations and publish 5 first author papers and 75 co-author papers, because my co-authors were part of this collaboration and publishing papers with including my work. So I was able to really get a lot of impact in just 2 years.
That is extraordinary. Average person getting 30 citations are extremely happy. You got thousands.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of luck involved as well, because you have to be at the right place at the right time, working on the right topic, but also you have to be open to working in the interdisciplinary areas where new things are happening. And that is where you can have a lot of impact, applying AI in physics.
So many of my friends who are PhDs, they talk about interdisciplinary fields as well. They always talk about you could always find so many just engineers, so many just mathematicians, but combination, that makes the magic work. And you had 2 different skill sets, you combined them at the right place, right time, and magic happened.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is the right way to do it if you're trying to make an impact fast in the world, because all the mathematicians from hundreds of years ago have already covered the entire things you could do with a pen and paper, right? Or without any new technology. But if your research requires having GPUs, the latest supercomputers, the latest AI models, the latest new things that nobody in the past had access to, you can actually have a lot of impact quickly, because nobody 100%. In that field knew about AI at the time.
Totally. So here comes the most important question. So as you were finishing your PhD, what was your goal? Because as you mentioned, you need an end goal when you're doing a PhD that is about the mission over the benefit of $100 billion offer or $1 billion offer. So what was your mission that helped you, accelerate that journey, which is a 5-year PhD journey to 1 year?
So I think I was just really excited to learn something and actually apply things, because I wanted to do something. I was passionate about just doing the maximum I can to have an impact, and that should be your only goal, right? The impact, because you can't be doing something for the money of it, or it's not as motivating as if genuinely being curious about something and learning something in order to have an impact on others and in that field. So I was not at all going to classes. Right?
So just research.
Even my advisor, I had really great advisors. They never told me to focus on classes or grades or anything. They were just getting your research done and getting all these papers out, publishing first author papers, leading an area yourself is the only thing that is worth learning in a PhD. Because it's not like other high school or college or anything. A PhD is about learning to become an independent thinker, an independent researcher, and able to lead your own area of research.
And get your thesis done, get your goals done for that research. Are there finite number of measurable goals that you had to achieve in 1 year?
So, I mean, I was able to publish more papers than typical PhD students who take 6 years. So I was able to have more citations, more papers, more awards, and I also had job offers from NVIDIA and Google and so on. So that also helped convince my thesis committee to give me a PhD so fast. But yeah, so I was purely optimizing for getting papers out and how many people would actually be able to use that work. So 100%. After I published these papers on applying AI to this field, it became a hot area of research. So my research group, my team had never worked on AI before, but that became the main focus of research for the entire group. So it ended up becoming a center of innovation in AI at University of Illinois. They've ended up getting millions of dollars of grants using my papers and other papers to apply for these NSF grants. So it actually blossomed into this huge AI for physics institution.
Incredible. In PhD, one thing that people don't take it seriously is the right professor as well, because sometimes the professor can leave the university, professor can be sick. So how do you choose the right professor who has long-term ambitions which are parallel to yours?
Yeah, I think just like in life, finding the right partner in life is the most important decision you would make. Same thing when you're doing a PhD, the most important decision you would have to make is finding that right advisor, right? So at University of Illinois, I didn't actually choose an advisor until I worked with a few different people before choosing who's my PhD advisor. And you have to talk to students who have worked with that professor before. This is really important. I was going to choose a different professor first, and then I talked to his grad students and people who had actually graduated with him and got all that feedback and decided to change my mind. Some professors have different like goals from you, and like they like want you to like work in their specific one topics. Others are willing to let you like have freedom to work on what you're interested in, and everyone has different personalities and interests and everything. I ended up working with really great professors, and there are like a few professors who are on my committee. I worked with multiple of them, and that's actually a good thing to do. Don't just work with one professor, work with a few different professors. Even if one of them is your main thesis advisor, you'll still get ideas from others and support from others, and you can end up putting all of them in your thesis committee.
100%.
And as well, and so find a professor who actually is like super passionate, who will actually help you, and not just forces you to do the research, but gives you freedom to go in any direction you want, and has great feedback from their previous students.
100%. And your biggest achievement, making $140,000 during a PhD. How did that happen? An international student can barely work 20 hours part-time and 40 hours full-time. How did you achieve that?
So I was actually able to find a hack where, you know, if I apply for these fellowships and like I won this NVIDIA fellowship and a couple of others, you can actually use that to get a tuition waiver, and they will even pay you like $50,000 a year as like, instead of doing a TA or an RA. And it doesn't count as work. Because it's a fellowship, you're just given that money and you don't have to do 20 hours a week as TA or RA.
I see, because fellowship is actually somehow paying for your grant, paying for your research as well, or just paying you.
It's just paying you, like if you win the NVIDIA fellowship or an NSF fellowship, or they're given.
It's an award. It's an award money.
Yeah, it's an award money.
So it's not like hourly wage.
Yeah, it's not.
So you can stack it. You can get more fellowships, and then hourly is separate.
Yeah, so I was not. So I could legally work 20 hours a week during the semesters and 40 hours a week during the summers. But since the fellowship didn't count as working hours, I was able and stack multiple of them. So you could get NVIDIA. I got like another one, like an LSST fellowship. I got a University of Illinois had its own like computational science and engineering fellowship. So you can stack them all, and you can work 20 hours a week in industry. So I was working at Google and Wolfram 20 hours a week during the semester and 40 hours during the summers. So if you add it all up, I was like getting, you know, $140,000 a year across all of these things.
Got it. Now let's continue with your journey. You actually did your PhD in gravitational physics plus AI. Now, continuing with this expertise, why so many companies wanted to hire you, such as NVIDIA, Google? How did you choose your first offer, and how did you expand on your learnings there?
So I actually have never applied to a company and gone through a typical interview process. So because I was publishing my paper and it became a big hit, and I got to go to a lot of conferences, like 17 conferences that year. I was invited to present there, and at one of these conferences, somebody from Google saw my talk and then met me and then talked to Sergey Brin about it, and then I went and presented my thesis to Sergey Brin. Same thing with NVIDIA. Actually, I had applied for that NVIDIA fellowship, and because that was like a big hit and like Nobel Prize and plus AI and all that stuff, Jensen Huang was really interested in it. So he talked about that paper in his keynote at GTC.
Wow, and which year?
This was 2018, 17 or 18.
Wow.
And then he came to visit University of Illinois for an event, and then he had reached out to talk to me. So I got to present my thesis again to him one-on-one, and that's how I ended up, actually getting fast-tracked to get the NVIDIA fellowship and an offer from NVIDIA. So same thing with Google, and also Stephen Wolfram. So I ended up working with Stephen Wolfram because he also saw this paper. I was applying Mathematica and AI, and he was super interested because it was part of this gravitational wave work. So that's how I ended up working with him during the semesters and at Google in the summer, and then I ended up getting a job offer from all three places.
Incredible. So you never formally applied, you got it at NVIDIA, Google and?
Wolfram.
So how did you decide where you wanted to work, after so much hype?
I mean, obviously Google always had a special place. It was I always wanted to try working at Google, and I've heard a lot of amazing things about it. And they have all this free food and massages and food, they give you all these video game rooms and ping pong, everything in your office, unlimited, everything, even alcohol. It's crazy. And I don't even drink. So but yeah. It is almost like a fairy tale land, like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. You can just have whatever you want. So I wanted to try working there, and Google is obviously one of the best companies in the world. So I thought I'll try doing that for a couple of years.
Awesome. Now, and after that, you worked at JP Morgan before traveling the world.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's actually a crazy story how we ended up there.
Uh-huh.
So my co-founder Sunny and I were working at Google, and my other co-founder Mahi, we all actually as a side project started trading stocks with AI. So we each put in our own money, you know, like few tens of thousands of dollars each, and like just for fun, after work, we would be building these trading models, and it actually ended up doing really well.
what models you were using?
We were using like LSTMs, RNNs, and we were putting in all the stock price data minute by minute, second by second. We did a lot of back testing and all of that, and then we actually deployed it with real money. And in a span of 4 months, it actually ended up doubling the money we put in, even when the
Really?
market crashed during COVID. It was like a neutral algorithm. So it was like long and short at the same time. So even when the stock market crashes, it was making money. It was
Incredible.
exploiting the volatility in the market, and it was a mean reversion algorithm.
Mean
It
reversion.
means like if Coca-Cola and Pepsi are like deviating from their average relationship, you can bet on it to go back. So you can, if Coca-Cola goes up and Pepsi goes down short term, you can bet that it'll eventually end up matching. So you go short on Coca-Cola and long on Pepsi. and
Interesting.
if it reverts to the mean, you make money.
So basically, from gossip, you figure out the sentiment of the market, and then
Yeah, I mean, we were throwing in all kinds of signals, including news about these companies. We were like also doing the raw time series, and we just threw it all into a machine learning model. This was 2020. This was before Transformers or ChatGPT. We were using LSTMs and even attention layers and stuff.
pretty incredible.
And it ended up being working out so well that somebody at JP Morgan and all heard about it, and I got referred to someone there, and that's how I ended up getting a job offer there. And then I convinced Sunny also to leave Google and come to JP Morgan.
You all left your job and finally here, TwinMind.
And then from JP Morgan, we then quit to start TwinMind.
Oh wow! So there's a lot to unpack. So first, let's go back to Google. You were working on physical AI. Can you break down your work in physical AI coming from your research in astrophysics and AI? So you talked about if you have to talk about the biggest learning from your PhD journey to implementing in Google and actually implementing and achieving that goal, how would that be?
So my skill set was applying AI in other fields, like physics. So when I went to Google X was a perfect place because they were working on like all these different projects, from genetic engineering to like robotics to
Robotaxi.
Yeah, robotaxi like Waymo, to like a robot that used to come around and clean our desks. It had like one hand. It would gather all this like Coke cans and everything and throw it in the trash. So we had all these crazy, and the earbuds that would like mute everyone at a bar except the person you wanted to listen to.
Wow.
And so I got to work on applying AI to each of these projects. So 6 projects in a span of like 2.5 years. And one of those projects was actually really successful. It was these robotic pants, like an Iron Man suit, and it had motors on your knee. And my machine learning algorithm would predict how you walk, like 100 milliseconds in advance. So it would like power your knee just like an e-bike. So we had this 90-year-old woman who came to our do the demo. She was like the grandma of somebody in the team, and she was able to climb 3 stories for the first time in 5 years by wearing these pants.
Wow, that's so inspiring. And Sergey Brin was there.
Yeah,
to
Sergey
see.
Brin was actually sitting. So my wife, my co-founders, and me, and we all sitting in the same row as like Sergey Brin.
Oh.
He used to come to Google X like almost every other day.
Wow, and you saw how she could climb thanks to your team's work.
Yeah. So this lady, and like now this project actually spun out. So now like a lot of people are able to buy it. I think they partnered with Arc'teryx, the company, you can buy this pants. It's called Skip. So I was like the first machine learning engineer for that project. And also this earbuds I mentioned that you could mute anyone in a bar. I was also the first machine learning person in that project. It was called Wolverine at the time, and now it's called IYO. And so they spun out a Google X, and now you can actually buy it.
Interesting. I was seeing on Twitter, there was a discussion that in Google, a lot of teams collaborate a lot, which is rare in other companies. For example, the part of the team that makes the chips, the part of the team that makes physical AI, like you worked on, and the team that works on LLMs, they're almost like one team separate as a whole, as an ecosystem, so that they can actually accelerate the journey of building things. Can you expand on how fast Google works with this
Yeah, so Google X was
System.
such a unique place, because it was like the moonshot factory. It was in a secret building, and they put together people from all kinds of backgrounds. So we had like in the same room, we had like, like finance people sitting next to genetic engineering, biology experts, sitting next to astrophysicists, sitting next to rocket scientists, sitting next to like people who had like a background in like history and like politics and computer science and like chemistry. All of these people sitting together and working on like these projects, these sci-fi projects. So that was a great experience. In 2.5 years, I got to work with like 6 different startups on 6 different areas with people in every possible background and learn from them, which is like once in a lifetime opportunity.
What would be your biggest learning at JP Morgan and Google be that finally led to you building TwinMinds, which we're going to talk about now?
So to start a company, you should have a lot of different like experiences. You need to like know enough about finance. You need to, which I learned at JP Morgan, because you have to manage like millions of dollars in money and allocate it efficiently. And then you also have to learn about like engineering, which I had through my background in my PhD and work at Google, like engineering, AI, computer science. You also need to know how it is to work with people, put together a team. It's almost like putting a jigsaw puzzle together. You have to put together a team with people having different strengths and different backgrounds, right? So I got to work with a lot of different people from different backgrounds, and that is what you need. Whereas if you're just a software engineer, you would only work with people who are software engineers. But by working at a place like Google X, you're like learning how to put together, who have like a background in law, with a background in like HR or like finance and like software engineering and hardware and everything together into one. So, and then you also need to know enough about like all these things, like talking to like investors and like these celebrities, and after talking to like Jensen Huang and Sergey Brin and all these people, like you get to like network. Building a network is very important.
100%.
So you also got to do that at Google.
Pretty inspiring. After working at Google and JP Morgan, you turned 27. And then you became financially free. You became a millionaire at 27 and finally financially independent, achieved FIRE by 29.
Yeah.
And you would simultaneously traveling the world for 3 years. Can you connect the dots here?
So since I was a PhD student, I was investing every single dollar I had in the stock market. Even then, I was like entire PhD stipend and all the money I made at internships, and I was just drinking Soylent. I was not like cooking or like doing anything. I was just drinking Soylent for all my meals. Soylent is like a meal in a bottle. It has all the nutrients you need, and you can just like, it was invented by somebody in Silicon Valley, a Silicon Valley founder who actually wanted to code while he was eating. So he had all these bottles. It has all the nutrients you need. It can last like a year. So you just get it shipped to you every week or like month, and then you just drink it while you code or you do your research. And it's cheap. It's like $2 a meal.
Wow.
So I was just drinking that for 3 years while doing my PhD because I was so busy. And so I'm investing all the money I was making as well. And so there is a movement called FIRE, where if you have enough investments such that you're only spending 4% of your net investments each year, that means you're financially free, because the stock market makes 8%. So if you have like, I don't know, like $1 million, $2 million, you make 8% of that every year, and you reinvest half of that. So you reinvest 4% and you spend 4%. So then you'll never run out of money, because your money is compounding faster than inflation, because you're reinvesting 4% every year and it's growing 8%, and you're spending 4% of that each year. So you'll never run out of money. You don't need to ever work again.
So take one salary, like just like billionaires and millionaires do. Take $1 salary, keep all the money in stock market. In a year, take 4% out of that stock market, and 4% causes that money to increase, because 8% return you get. Fantastic idea.
And I take $0 salary from TwinMind, and I only take stock. So I'm just living off my investments and the dividends and like the 4% that I take out each year. And so which gives you the freedom to do whatever you want in life. You don't have to worry about getting a job for the money. You just work on whatever you're most passionate about. You never have to think about money again for yourself. You only need to think about money in the sense you want to grow your company.
100%. Now finally, let's get into TwinMind. So now let's get into your travel journey before we talk about TwinMind. So simultaneously you were traveling as well. When did you get epiphany at JP Morgan and Google that I should take a break from work? I should just travel for 3 years? And I think that's...
So I actually did not even take a break, So while I was like my last year at Google and my 3 years at JP Morgan, I was actually working while I was traveling.
Really? So you never took a break?
So I never took a break. I've never taken a break in my life. You know, I went from like school to IIT to UIUC to Google, JP Morgan, and TwinMind. I've never had a break in my whole life. So, so I just kept working at Google, and then I switched to JP Morgan. So after COVID, these jobs became remote. So I thought, why stay in like Silicon Valley and where the rent is so expensive? To just everybody was like stuck at home. So I just my wife was also working remotely at Aura Ring. And like now she's working at a different startup, but it was all fully remote jobs. So we decided that we will just like, you know, first travel around the US and then come back. And then we thought we'll just do it for 3 months and we'll get bored and we'll then get an apartment again. So we sold everything that we owned and we just had one backpack each.
Yeah, your Reddit post got viral. I'm going to show that to people as well, that you had 5 set of clothes, and that also by the company, which is easy to wash in hotel. What is it called?
It's called Merino Wool.
Merino Wool. And you managed everything with that limited set of clothes. And there is a popular quote you mentioned. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, like the things that you own end up owning you. This is like a quote I've read somewhere, which is actually true, because like the more stuff that I have, the more I'm stuck to that location. And if I get a job somewhere else or I want to like go experience something, I can't do it because I'm like tied by all these things. So my life is controlled by the things I own.
100%. I felt that when I sold my Tesla, I was paying $600 for car insurance, $1,000 car payment, and like lease, and then your medical bills, and all that payment held me in the US
and all the furniture,
that one place, all the furniture.
Yeah.
These all payments stack you, and all the clothes you own.
Yeah.
You cannot move. And now I just have one suitcase, one carry-on, one backpack. More than you, what you had, but still, it's just incredible idea to think how much freedom you get when you have just these 3.
I know, it is like so free because we did not have to think about when we are coming back or anything. So we first started traveling the US, then we went to like, you know, like 27 countries around the world. We went to like Japan and all of Europe and Iceland and Morocco and Egypt and Peru and Mexico, like South Asia, or like Singapore, India, Sri Lanka. So it was like we just could travel indefinitely. We just had one backpack. I would wash these clothes every 3 or 5 days in the hotels itself. We were just living in hotels. And it was actually cheaper to do that. Living in 4 5-star hotels, Hyatts, Marriotts around the world is cheaper than just getting an apartment in the Bay Area.
100%, 100%.
And we also ended up maxing out all these credit card hacks and everything. So we got 3.5 million points just by getting credit cards every 2 months, charging the hotels and our Airbnbs to it, getting the 100,000 point sign up bonus. And then we racked up this 3.5 million points and used it to pay for the hotels and the business class flights all around the world for free. So we ended up getting $100,000 in free points. And we sold all our stuff, so we didn't actually own anything, right? It was like a really freeing experience.
Wow. Now, when did you get the epiphany that, oh, now I should go back to the US and now finally build TwinMind?
So I
in
feel like
2024, last year. You've been building for 1 year. It's such an incredible app.
Thank you. Yeah, so I mean, after like, you know, after experiencing everything, you know, like after traveling all around the world and everything, like you still feel like you want to have like something meaningful, like a purpose in your life you want to accomplish, have some impact on the world, you know. So like I was always thinking of starting a company at some point, and then ChatGPT came out, and like I have always had this vision for AI that's like Jarvis from the Iron Man movie. But like ChatGPT and all these other apps were not that. Like you still had to ask it a question, you had to type a lot of prompts. It's almost like a terminal in the 1970s. You had to like go and like type in very specific instructions and prompt engineering. It's not like always on, always like listening to you, and it should just know things, right? So that's why we thought we should build something like Jarvis from the Iron Man, where it just knows everything. It even helps you before you ask. So nobody had built something like that. So I talked to my co-founders, Sunny and Mahi and others as well, and everybody wanted something like this. So we hacked together something that would just listen to all our meetings at work and then write all our code. And this actually worked so well that I like posted about it on social media and Blind and Reddit, and it became a hit. Everybody's like, I will pay for this. If it just listens to my work meetings, transcribes everything, and then it'll just do my project for me.
And it's so privacy focused. Like you are not recording the audio, you're just taking notes.
Yeah.
You don't keep the audio at all. And most importantly, other thing that I noticed, that the first versions, year 2, the models you had, it was on device. Now it's sending data to cloud, but you promising private, just like private cloud from Apple.
So we have 2 models, right? One, if there is no internet, you can have everything on device if you want it. Or if for the best accuracy in 140 different languages, you can use a cloud model. So even if you turn off the internet, TwinMind still works. It just goes to a lower quality model. And if you want complete privacy, if you toggle off this cloud mode, then everything stays on your phone. Nothing is ever stored anywhere in the cloud. So which means it's dangerous. Like only a few % of people do it, because if you drop your phone and you break it, all your data is gone. So TwinMind has now been listening to my life for 8 months. All day I just leave it on. It knows every conversation I had with my friends, family, my parents, my spouse, like my investors, like employees, everybody, right? So it actually knows so much about me. I can just ask it, create a pitch deck, create our marketing copy, create write. My dad is using it to write his autobiography in Malayalam. He couldn't find any app that works in Malayalam for converting speech to text, and TwinMind is the only app that works right now.
And most importantly, you don't need a hardware. Like for example, I can just take notes on my laptop or on my phone. It's not on watch yet, but for other products out there, you need a pendant, ring or watch, but you can just use your phone and have the highest accuracy speech to text model in the world.
Yeah, you don't actually need to have any external hardware, because like we figured out how to just get it running in your pocket with really high accuracy without draining your battery. You can leave it on 16 hours a day, or you can use it on your laptop too. And we are able to, and your phone is already in your pocket. Why do you want to like buy an other hardware device? Remember to charge it, wear it in your clothes, you forget it sometimes, right? And then you still doesn't have a display, so you still have to look at your phone to see anything.
Yeah, and I used to like think I will have to buy a hardware, because I used to use Granola. Silicon Valley's most like viral speech to text model had been Granola, but you have to create each notes manually. But you automate it just by clicking once and record all day. Here comes my important questions. Number one is that these models hallucinate. You're going towards agentic models. So let's say in my day, I have my to-do list, I can see on my TwinMind. You're going towards the vision that it will go and complete that to-do list from your notes that it just heard. So these models hallucinate. Sometimes the audio quality is not good. Sometimes maybe it can do something which we don't expect. How do you trust that?
So we have multiple steps. So there's the initial transcript that is generated throughout your day, and then the AI models are constantly checking to correct it. So we have an AI LLM that like processes all of that and then corrects it, and only the things that make sense end up in the summaries and the notes. And then even on top of that, anytime you ask it a question, or anytime it detects a to-do list for you or item for you, it will actually refer to the original source. So just like when you ask a question on Perplexity, it has citations for every piece of information that it finds from the web. So think of us like Perplexity for your conversations and meetings, right? So every time you ask a question, it has a specific citation to each piece of fact, where it came from. And also it doesn't do anything for you without your permission. So if you say write an email, it still asks you to review and approve it. If you ask it to like create like some like investment memo and send it to an investor, it will still ask you to like view it before sharing the link.
100%. And I see how accurate. I can tell you how many times I've used it. You can see on my phone, I showed you. I used it for my Vietnam tour guide. I couldn't understand the English accent of the Vietnamese tour guide. I just turn on TwinMind. It understands the other person's accent better than me. It's just so cool.
Yeah, and it's crazy, like the microphones and the AI models have gotten so good, it's better than my own hearing. I was in like a wedding with like, it's so loud, it's like hundreds of people talking, I couldn't understand what the person next to me was saying, but somehow TwinMind actually picked it out. And it works in like 140 languages and in all these dialects, accents, dialects, different accents in Malayalam and like all these niche languages. It's like impressive that it is able to do it, and it's only going to get better with time. This is the worst version of the app you'll ever use.
100%.
Every month it will just get better and better as AI models get better and better.
Only problem I have is that, only shortcomings I feel is that, let's say on the phone, you can only have one source of audio. So let's say I start making videos. The TwinMind app will not listen to that audio and not make notes. So let's say you're recording audio on another app, TwinMind will be disabled. So that's why I think the future would be still with hardware. Let's say you make the app for Apple Watch.
Yeah.
Then people can trust it. If the people trust it and you keep all the promises, then it'll be amazing keeping your watch as your daily note taker.
So there we have figured out how to run TwinMind in parallel to most apps. So if you're like listening to music or whatever, or like you're using a different app to record audio,
that works then.
It will still work, but it doesn't work if you're using your camera, like your like Apple's, if you're using like a phone call, which is like Apple is blocking every other app, or if you're using like your video shooting like app that's built into Apple, then it doesn't work because Apple shuts it off. But pretty much all the other apps, it actually can run in parallel.
In Android, it works through
On
that.
Android, it can work on almost every app. But phone calls are still not working yet, but we are actually having a feature coming out soon where it can actually capture phone calls. You just have to call people inside TwinMind. You just enter their number and just call them inside TwinMind and it will be able to capture.
Interesting. Now, can we understand how TwinMind works? And like all of these speech to text models seems like they just work with first transcribing and having LLM layer to clean it up, and then transcribe and then prompt it to create summaries, prompt it to chat with it. So this is pretty much straightforward what I see most speech to text models working. What is special about TwinMind? Why it is most accurate in the world?
So TwinMind is not just about transcribing audio, right? It's almost like a personal memory layer for every human on earth. So you'd want to be able to ask anything about what you've heard in the past. So there is a context capturing layer which is transcribing all the audio. On top of that, there's a memory layer which remembers everything. There's a hierarchical memory. The most important things in your life is like core memories, and then you have all the summaries of all the conversations you have, and then you have the raw transcript, and you would be able to ask a question 2 years from now. What is this conversation we had with Harnoor, and like what were the key insights, and like what are the nostalgic moments, and it will just remember everything. So you're building memory, not just transcribing audio. You can also add files now on our desktop app. You can add in, so it's like your personal knowledge management memory system.
Wow.
So it's like your second brain. That's why users call it their second brain a lot.
Or you can call it cursor for life.
Cursor for life.
So, for example, I can tell you when I talk about cursor, it has two models. When a lot of programmers watching, they can understand. So, cursor allows you, when you hit the tab button, it automatically predicts, oh, this guy, if let's say is changing name of Daniel George from camel case to Pascal case, let's say D capital Daniel, ANIEL lowercase, and then let's say I change that name and then I hit tab, it will automatically predict, oh, this guy is going to change Harnoor's name, H capital Harnoor. So that's how it auto corrects your entire file by predicting where I should be moving the cursor to when I can do tab to correct. That's why a cursor for code editors is very popular, with most accurate tab to fix things in a project. And number two model that cursor makes is embeddings. If it has like thousands of files, when we code there are thousands of files, thousands of Java files, and with embeddings it creates a relationship between what files are important, and when you chat with it, it automatically understands that, oh, if I'm editing this UI file, then this is the backend of that file, like this is the Java backend of that CSS HTML UI, and it only edits that, and it's faster rather than sending the whole code base to the Claude, OpenAI. So that's what you're doing in a similar way. So for example, you're doing embeddings in a way that all the nodes you take, you're drawing the relationship, what nodes are related. That's similar to cursor. And number two, you predict what to-do list I want to do from my notes. If I talk to, let's say, talked about thousands of things with you, and it'll create to-do lists from that and automatically predict at 5 p.m. oh, I want to, let's say, finish something that Daniel asked me to do.
Yeah, so
that is fantastic.
Exactly. So we are trying to build that layer. So you have the listening layer, then you have the memory layer, then you also have the proactive, the intelligence layer that's constantly trying to predict what you want to know.
100%.
So the memory layer is making all these embeddings and grouping all these like related conversations and themes across your life so that it can retrieve it later. But then the predictive layer is actually always, if you ask me a question or we're talking about some topic and we don't know some fact, the TwinMind app is showing you in real time the answers to those questions.
Wow.
So you could be the smartest person in the room. You ask me the capital of a country or some interview question in a job interview, and the answer is right there.
What are the hardest things people don't know that is needed to build something like TwinMind?
So these days, the hardest thing is that the AI models will only get you 80% of the way there, like apps like Cursor or Lovable or Bolt. But then the remaining 20% is so hard, it'll actually take you longer. You're getting a final production ready app that has the UI UX figured out, that is easy for a user to use, that works reliably, right? That has also even the AI is not always accurate. It's it's stochastic, and so getting that reliability is so right that it works 99% of the time. That is extremely hard to do, and that requires also talking to users. Understanding what users want. It's not just about having an idea and quickly building it, because once you build a product that we now have tens of thousands, 40,000 users using it actively. So getting a product like that that you are actually have to learn from the user and see how they use it, and knowing what to build is the hard thing. Because people can build things, but knowing what to build and how to get it reliable, that final like 10% there is like extremely hard thing to do, and that would take you like a year to do. And you have to
100%.
be like pouring your like heart and soul and like talk into it every day. The entire team is like working, like 24/7, like 100 hours a week, right? So they're like, that is extremely hard to do. And
as people say, 20-80 rule. In 20% of the effort, you can achieve 80% of the work, which has become easier with AI. Like with 1% of the effort, you can maybe achieve 80% of the product, but that 99% of the effort goes into fine tuning and perfecting that.
Yeah, and that is the hardest thing, the getting that product. Like Steve Jobs was always doing that, he's always cares about the perfection of the user experience, because that is what makes the iPhones brilliant and the MacBook brilliant, because like you're not just getting 80% of the way there, you're trying to get it to like 99.9% of perfection.
So now talking about the model you have created, I want to know how did you create it and what it takes to create models, because all I see is it requires a lot of money. How much money is needed to create something like the world's best speech to text model?
So we don't actually train our foundation models from scratch, right? The best thing about it is there's so many open source models that have been trained on the entire internet. So there are multimodal LLMs that can take audio, text, image as input, and they're trained to take a question as an input and like give you an answer. What we did is we fine-tuned these models. We took the best multimodal LLMs. There's ones from Microsoft, Google, all these companies, DeepSeek, all these companies have LLMs, and we fine-tune them to become a speech-to-text model.
And your fine-tuning mechanism is the best, making the best speech-to-text.
Yes.
How?
So what we have done is we took an ensemble of the best multimodal LLMs in the world, and then we had our own curated data set of a lot of like, podcasts, videos, YouTube, all of these things, where we have input as like audio and output as like text. But then we ask the LLMs to actually like convert it from input to output, and then we actually have another LLM that goes and tries to fix all the errors. And then that LLM actually, if we have 5 different models that give 5 different transcripts, then we ask the final LLM to be the judge and like figure out what is a ground truth.
I see.
So you can look at 5 different transcripts by 5 different models. These are all LLM models. Then we ask the final LLM to correct it and find the true ground truth. And then we also have some hand curated ground truth as well. And then we use that as the gold standard to then train a multimodal LLM to go from speech to text. Whereas all these other companies are not using LLMs under the hood. They have trained models 10 years ago to just go from speech to text. They're tiny models. The LLMs are trained on the whole internet. So they have heard every language in the world. They have seen every video, every audio podcast on the internet.
If it's that easy to fine-tune, why do you think you guys have a moat?
It's not that easy to fine tune. That's the thing. It took us like a year. We have like some of the world's best AI researchers here, people who worked at Google and all these places. So like it took a long time to find the right data set, to fine tune it, and to come up with this whole pipeline. And not just that, we had to also, it's not just transcribing speech to text. We also have to identify speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3 in the conversation. And LLMs can only take like small, like 5-10 minutes of audio at once. Whereas our model is able to take 10 hours of audio at once.
24 hours
Yeah,
itself.
even 24 hours. Like there's no limit. We just put a cap to prevent it costing too much. But the idea is that just out of the box, you cannot make an LLM into a speech-to-text model. It won't work for large files. Long files, the middle part will be all wrong. So you have to LLM only will focus on the beginning and the end, and it'll miss stuff in the middle. So you have to do a lot of fine-tuning and training and a lot of pipelines to pre-process the data, to post-process the data, to check for errors. Also if you have a long file and you split it into 10-minute chunks, the speaker 1 in the first chunk will not be the speaker 1 in the second chunk, right? It might be speaker 2 in the second. So we also have speaker embedding models that will then go through and match it'll say speaker 1 is speaker 2, in the third chunk it is speaker 3, and it'll go and align all of that and then stitch it back together and then do a final LLM that will correct all the errors. And there's so many steps in this whole pipeline. So it's not so easy that somebody can just make it in a month or 2.
What do you have that no one else can to build it?
So we have the best talent right now. We have these people could be making $1 million a year if they go to OpenAI or Anthropic or Google or Microsoft. But they are my co-founders are both PhDs in AI, and they have 5-10 years of work experience. So these are people who could be making $1 million, but they're choosing to work at TwinMind, because they're like so passionate about it, and everybody, I'm taking $0 salary, these guys are taking like minimum wage, right? Because it's not about the money, it's about like they're like so passionate. It's like we are not like mercenaries, we're like missionaries, right? We're not doing it for the money. So
And-
it's
Oh, go
so
ahead.
it's so hard to find talent like that. That's why AI startups these days have a hard time like building stuff, because the best researchers are stolen by Meta, by like Anthropic, OpenAI, DeepMind.
And it's interesting you mentioned that, like, the cost, because you guys have less cost to ship it to the customers because you don't have hardware. And in terms of software, you said that you have reduced the cost even though you're processing 10 hours of audio. How have you reduced the cost significantly?
So we were able to reduce the cost a lot, which is essential to be able to create an always listening, always transcribing AI, which nobody else does because of the costs. When we first started the company, we were using out-of-the-shelf tools like DeepGram, Assembly AI, 11 Labs, all these companies. It would cost you something like $500 a month per user if you were to like record their life all day.
Oh my God. And
Which
you
is-
don't even charge us right now.
which is impossible to like make a product like that, right? Financially, economically unfeasible. So what we found is that by offloading a lot of the compute to your phone, like the latest phones, Android iPhones, the latest iPhones all have a really powerful chips in them. They can do a lot of the audio processing, a lot of the AI models can run on device. So we got the cost down from $500 when we started last year March to now under $1 a month per user.
Per month.
Yeah, per month per user.
$100
That's what it
per
costs
month.
us.
That's
So-
why it's free for me.
Yeah, we are giving it away for free for everyone, but we will
Everyone.
have a pro model, the new year 3 model that has the world's highest accuracy, multiple speakers. That will cost more, but we will give it to people under pro plan. But even the year 2 model that we were using, that runs on device or on the cloud, is actually it costs less than $1 a month per user, and it's really high quality. It works in 100 languages. It doesn't know speaker 1, speaker 2, and so on, but the AI model is able to infer who's speaker 1. In this conversation, it knows from my calendar that you are here. It knows that who I am. It knows I am the CEO of TwinMind. So it can just guess which words you said, which words I said.
Wow. Now, here comes an important question about AI engineering. Everyone watching out there want to be an AI engineer right now. I have made a video separate, like if you want to become an AI engineer, there is a 3-step roadmap. Number 1, use LLM. Anyone using LLM is an AI engineer. Number 2, build something and ship quickly, which you can do right now because we talked about 80% can be achieved with 20% of work or even 1% of work. But last is fine tuning and like making it work for all use cases. That what takes the majority of engineering. What advice you would have here to add on for everyone watching to become AI engineer?
So I think these days, like what you mean by AI engineer, there's 2 types. People are working on like the foundational models, the foundational training with GPUs and so on. That is like a very difficult thing these days. And it's like it requires a long amount of training and experience and working with large number of GPUs and so on. But there's the other side of AI engineers who are like actually applying the AI to build products. And that is where the barrier to entry is really low and the impact is really high. Right, anyone without a degree, a college degree, can just go and start using foundation models, open source models, or APIs from companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, Google. All these companies have really cheap APIs. All these companies will also give you like $20, $30, $100,000 for free to actually start playing around with their APIs in cloud credits, and they can just go and build products. All kinds of AI tutoring apps, or like another a meeting notes apps, or any of these apps. It's very easy to start building these, and if you are a really good AI engineer, all you need to know is how all these LLMs works, how to make chat products, image products using APIs or open source models on Hugging Face, and then put it all together to create a product. Like the whole pipeline, it's not like you're training any AI model, you're putting everything together, making a chain of different tools that you can it could be a photo editing app, or it could be something else. Underlying, it could be using Nano Banana that just came out, or it could be using some Gemini 2.5 Pro, any new models under the hood, but putting it all together so that it's a final product that any user around the world can actually quickly learn. It's user friendly and it is in a nice interface. That would be a great thing to start, and then you can get a lot of traction.
Interesting, because I think a lot of the industry experts give the same advice. They say that like build in a way industry needs. For example, host it on AWS Bedrock. Most of the industry is hosting on these cloud providers because it's more control over the data. because they don't want to send data to directly Anthropic, OpenAI endpoint. They want control by hosting it at AWS or at their own place. And what advice you would have on hosting? Because some people say AWS Bedrock hosting is cheaper, or Open Router is cheaper.
I mean, I as someone who's aspiring to be an AI engineer, or like, it's like, I think the best way to get started is just use these serverless platforms like Vercel. It is growing. That's how we got started. Vercel is a great serverless endpoint. Under the hood, it might be using AWS or Azure. It doesn't matter. They make it super easy to set up your APIs, your backend, your database. You can set up authentication through Supabase or other things that integrate with Vercel. You can have database, everything in one place. Really quickly, you can start building with Cursor, and then the end product will be hosted in a serverless way
On Vercel.
on Vercel, or even other tools. Like there's also Lovable and Bolt and Replit and all these tools to get started. But once you already have, like, 10,000, 100,000 active users, at that point it makes sense to go to like Google Cloud. Like we moved to Google Cloud, right? So at that point it makes sense to move to Google Cloud. But in the beginning, it's like it's not really worth it. Once you have traction and it's worth it, then you can move it.
100%.
It's not that hard to move it too.
And what about the system? Like Gergely from Pragmatic Engineer recommends that once you've built it, it's important to have your own system instead of using Llama Index, LangChain, all of these like chaining mechanism that you do. Do you think using frameworks is important, or building your own system is easier?
So we don't actually use things like Llama Index, LangChain, all of that, because we just like want control over each step of the process. So we have LLM calls, and then we take the output of the LLMs and put it in other places, and then do it step by step. We can just build it out in our own backend, right? We don't need to use it, but I think it might be useful. We have not found it as essential.
Interesting.
Because you are like making a lot of like, LLMs, you're hosting the LLM, or you're using an LLM that's already hosted. You're making calls, you take the output, you parse it, then you feed it to the next LLM or your next part of the pipeline. Then you do step by step by step. You can actually write down these steps yourself. You don't really need to do LangChain. I mean, if you want, you can. I don't have much experience using that. We did not find any issues doing it ourselves.
Got it. What is your vision in the future you imagine with AI note-taking tools? How far can we go?
Yeah, so I don't think TwinMind is meant to be a note-taking tool. Like we started off, we need to give people a reason to start capturing their lives, and taking meeting notes, lecture notes, conversations like this is just the beginning point. But the next step is for the AI to just be like an always-on, alive Jarvis, where it just doesn't feel like a note-taking app. It's just always there. So you can ask it, hey, give me a meeting note. It'll give you that. Or you can ask it to send the email directly to the investor or somebody else after a meeting. It doesn't even need to send you the meeting note. The meeting note is the intermediate step. Why not just send the email directly? Or like in a conversation we talked about like going to a trip next week. It would be nice to go to Bali. And it can just book the itinerary or like ask you, do you want to go? And here's a plan.
And book it for us.
Yeah, so the meeting note is just like a temporary phase. What eventually we need is like an AI that's like so TwinMind's whole like tagline and like our vision is to have an AI that you think together with. So think together, right? You want an AI twin that feels like an extension of your own mind, right? Extension of yourself. So it's just like your second memory. So it doesn't need to give you meeting notes. When you need it, you can generate it. When you need when you ask in the morning, you wake up, it'll give you a whole agenda to do for the day. These are the 5 most important things to do today. And this is like you're meeting this investor. Here are 5 bullet points to know about this person. You're meeting Harnoor Singh. These are 3 things to know about Harnoor Singh. So there's all these like things that can just be, you just want the end product.
And all the context in one place.
Yes.
You want the end product. You want to own the entire chain of products. Even like if we talk to OpenAI, that should also happen here because it has more context about you.
And we don't want to compete with everybody else because like we want to be the memory agent that you interface with. And that agent can then go use OpenAI tools or Gmail agent or like booking.com agent or Amazon agent. So this agent is like your Jarvis that knows you. So it can then go and like use other companies' agents to get stuff done. But the problem is that right now you have to give a lot of context to other companies' agents, right? You go to ChatGPT, you have to explain everything. Then you go to Claude, you have to explain everything again. There is no memory layer that is across every app, every device. Like even eventually we will be on these like Meta Ray-Ban glasses. So we want to be on Windows, Mac, Android, iPhone, Meta, Ray-Bans, every device you use.
And as soon as possible.
And every app. So you want everything you talk to ChatGPT also should be remembered when you go to Claude and to Gmail, to Google Doc. So, and there should, right now your files are scattered in one place, like Drive, and your meeting notes are maybe in some Otter, and then your like email is somewhere else, your ChatGPT context history is somewhere else. There should be one app that collects all the context in one place, and then whenever you use another product, it fetches the right context and automatically gives it to that product.
100%.
Yeah.
So, do you think speed is here really important here? Do you have to be the first one reaching Ray-Ban, Apple Watch, all the devices we have?
Yeah, so far we are now on Chrome on every desktop. We are now on like Android and iPhone. Like having a Mac app, a Windows app are all coming soon, like Watch app. And we actually are partnering or like talking to companies that make these like smart glasses. So we'll also have SDKs that connect to that. So eventually this AI will be powered by everything you see, hear and say. Remember everything in your past and help you do things before you ask. So it almost feels like it just your brain is expanding its biological limits, right? It's like it doesn't even feel like someone else is thinking, because your smartphone is already an extension of your brain, right? Without it, like you have less capabilities. Human beings are able to achieve so much by using tools, and the tools feel like an extension of your brain, like writing notes. Like when you write a lot of notes, it doesn't feel like the notes are thinking for you, right? It's like your brain is still using a tool like a pen in order to write things that will help you remember things later.
Totally.
Same way, TwinMind is also like capturing things that will help you remember things later. And it doesn't have to be an AI app. It just feels like your brain.
A lot of people watching you today see you as an overachiever, which is a far-fetched goal for many. Can you talk about, we saw the highest points. Can you talk about the lowest points of your life that we don't hear about?
Yeah, I mean, it is an extremely stressful thing to do, it is a lot of suffering when you have to like obsess about one thing and only one thing for like 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, for like weeks on week. You have to sacrifice everything from like your social life, food, I was doing Soylent, but I was not hanging out with friends or family or anything for like months at a time when I was like obsessed with one thing. And I think most people who actually have to achieve something on a really high level have to be willing to sacrifice a lot. I think it was like Elon Musk that said, right, it's like sometimes it feels like chewing glass and staring into the abyss.
100%.
Because you're like obsessing so much, you're sacrificing so much, you're just so stressed. You're like, even when it was like getting into IIT Bombay, I had to like study like 24/7 for like a couple of years, or like doing my PhD in that like masters plus PhD, like those 3 years, I was probably just like mostly drinking Soylent, just working 15 hours a day when I was writing my research papers. I was also working 20 hours a week at companies while doing my PhD. And, it was like really stressful. I had to sacrifice. I didn't have time for any other hobbies, or like reading a book or hanging out with friends or playing sports or, like traveling or at that time. So in those moments when you can have a lot of impact, you have to be willing to like set aside everything and only think about one thing 15 hours a day.
One mission.
Only one.
24/7.
One mission, obsessing on one thing into the point that it is painful and stressful and something, but they just get that done over like, even if it takes a month or 2 months of like intense work. That is, I think, what it takes.
I feel you. That it takes a lot of guts to do that. Very inspiring, and you're obsessed over your mission at TwinMinds as well. I hope people watching this video learn a lot from your journey and implement AI in their lives with TwinMinds, and you inspired a lot. Thank you so much. It was great meeting you, Daniel.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me here in your house.
It was really great hanging out with you today.
Thank you.